I'm not trying to say everybody needs to be right here, but there's actually a survey through PPA, and we've used PPA Management Services, but through PPA they actually do a survey that helps give you all those numbers, and it has a comparison survey of what studios are doing. So anyway, that was just a side note, but back to the wall portraits. Sell by the longest side. It creates some confusion initially. So when we first switched to this, absolutely, creates some confusion, because if your clients are used to seeing just all the standard sizes, they get a little confused when they just see 40-inch print. What does that mean? So that's where educating the client comes in. If you're doing your job and you're doing pre-consults, or you're talking to them at this, during their session, or just in the sales room, you're explaining all of this when they have those questions. The beautiful thing is, as your clients become repeat clients and you're in business longer, I don't have to ever go over it, because I've had the same structure for 8 years. Even if the pricing changes, it's the exact same concept. So I can direct people to their wall portraits. It's pretty simple. We do have a bonus structure that if they buy 3 or more wall portraits, they will get a 10% price break on all their prints and frames. Not other products and books, but prints and frames, so they're wall portraits. And that could be gallery wrap, that could be a canvas, that could be whatever. Then, so what about the next thing we would go to and talk about and we would try to sell would be gift prints, classic gift prints. All a classic gift print is, it's a name we made up to call everything 8 by 10 and smaller. We wanted to charge the same price, because honestly, I didn't want all these packages. I didn't want to sell in units. 2 5 by 7s really don't equal an 8 by 10. And really, if I think of myself like an artist, I'm not selling the piece of paper and what it costs. I'm selling the art that's on it. So I don't really care if it's an 8 by 10 or a 5 by 7 or a 4 by 5. And my price and my cost isn't really all that different for what I'm charging. So it's just all one price. Your choice, 8 by 10 or smaller, for $5.99. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And so I do offer a collection. That is such a great value. Now, you have to have a very high, and I guess, again, that's relevant, but you need a high a la carte classic gift print price to make that collection be of value, correct? But rather than $115, it makes them like $74 a piece. So, and you can buy that as many times as you want. So I have some clients, they might spend $2,000 on classic gift prints. They just buy that package 4 times. So it's built value into those smaller prints. But we call them gift prints because that's what I want them to think of them as. This is for grandma, this is for your desk, this is for the office. So that was done on purpose. Oh, one other little thing. This little, you see this is actually a file that was from a wallet, and our website's on the side of it. That's something that actually we've done for years. We just call them art wallets, and the clients don't know they're getting them, which of course now with repeat clients they do. I don't do this for specials, like limited editions and things, but our normal clients, we just pick one of their images and do 8 wallets that have our website on it. So it's free, they don't pick the image. Some of the repeat clients know they're getting them. They'll pick an image, and that's fine. And they're usually black and white or sepia. So I think of it, and I tell them, like, so when they pick up, it's like, oh, here's just a little gift that, we wanted to give you that, it's kind of like our business card with your kid's name on it. So these would be really cute. You could actually do them as rep cards or business cards and make them double-sided. But then you're talking about a bigger volume. But we've just done it with a set of 8 wallets. Then if you talk about framing, I get really excited with the way we priced our framing, because my experience when I initially started my studio, I did not offer framing. And I knew I was really missing out by doing that, but I was really overwhelmed and not sure how to do that, just physically how to offer that and what that would look like, and just assembling them, I just didn't know. And so I started small and started offering some frames, and then I actually even worked with other framing companies and or actually local framing companies and helping pick out frames. It got really confusing because if you go to a frame shop, typically they're set up that there's no structure in how they're priced. So I might think I'm trying to save money and pick a little thin gold frame, and it's the most expensive frame because there's real gold on it. So the more confusing it is for your clients, it starts to kill the sale. So I decided to take all my frame vendors and sit down. It was a total pain to do, but again, I would actually recommend to someone, if you don't offer frames, just offer 5 or 6. You don't have to offer a million. We used to offer a whole room of framing, and we're down to just one little section on the wall. It's still a lot of frames. It's probably about 70 frames, but literally we used to probably have 400. And so it's from Larson Jewell, GW Molding, Organic Bloom, Wild Sorbet, Roma. So we have a lot of vendors. We sat down, we figured out what does it cost us to get this frame completed, ready to pop an image into, because we get all of our frames ready for that. So we don't frame as far as we don't get the long sticks of the frames and we're assembling and we're chopping and we're joining. It's like, oh, they have a 16 by 20, it comes ready to nail gun the 16 by 20 in, put paper, wire, done. So what does it cost us to get that 16 by 20? So I came up with ranges of if it costs between this and this, it's an A frame. That's gonna be most of your skinnier frames. If it costs between this and this, it's a B frame. If it costs between this and this, it's a C frame, all the way up to F. F being like the really expensive, chunky moldings made in Italy. You know, it's probably got some of the hand-gilded gold, some beautiful things to those frames. And it's very obvious. You look at the frame wall. We have column A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You can basically see, you could guess those were the more expensive ones. It's really cool because then with our pricing structure, a 20-inch G frame, all the same. A 16-inch C frame, all the same. Now, you have to price it off the most expensive one. For that same reason, is that there is going to be some variance in there. Like you have to, if you're going to do this, there's going to be a range. So don't get in trouble and price it off the lower end, and then somebody orders the more expensive frame in your range that you gave, and now you're not making your money. But most of our frames we try to mark up 2.5 to 3 times. And so that has been really, really, really awesome with our framing. We actually do frame most of our wall portraits. We've gotten away from framing our smaller prints, but we do frame most of our wall portraits. The other thing is we try to keep on hand some of our top-selling frames in the most standard sizes. The reason being, everything's by appointment at our studio. Even when you pick up, you make an appointment to pick up. We have all your images on display, on a table, the small prints all opened up and their packaging, and then we will put your big print in a frame if we have one, which hopefully, if it's an odd panoramic, we probably don't, but if we have a frame in stock that we can actually temporarily have it popped in there with just one little nail or nail gun, so when you walk in, your initial impression is this frame portrait ready to go home on your wall. It opens up that door. People are either like, ooh, I want that one, or let's start talking about framing. And what's great is it's very self-service in a good way. People can actually look at the frame wall, even if I'm like running off in another room and they're just browsing, I can tell them a G frame costs this much, a C frame costs this much. Like they can kind of be like, okay, I know I want to be in this price range, and they can see what's available to them for that. So it's very comfortable for them, rather than just having to take every frame off the wall to be able to say how much it is. So that's really simplified our process. The frame on the right, I did show yesterday, that's when we collage frames. We'll do that through White House Custom Color. We send the prints, we pick out the frames, it comes ready to hang on the wall. And then these two others are actually, we do a lot of collaging. Jed actually, we have a collage template and action combos we sell, but basically like that, we sell, I just actually did a 50 by 50 for a client in their home a couple weeks ago and did the installation for them. But this one on the left, it's a 9 opening with the image faded in the back. We've actually created an action that you just open up the 9 images, hit play, and it does it all for you. And it designs it as I think a 30-30, or you can size it down. But anyway, with the framing with all of this, I want to tell you kind of my new pricing concept that I'm going to be moving forward with. I didn't put it in here because it's really just scratch paper right now, but I'm really excited about it. And so I'm telling you this, and that this isn't tried and true. Like there could be some things in here that don't work, but I think it's going to actually work really wonderful because my clients are already used to this process. I'm just taking it one step further. So basically, I'm going to, instead of offering from the longest side, because that's still a lot of stuff, 20, 24, 30, 36, and I was just looking at the prices, what that really costs me. Like my cost for my retouching is the same. The cost between the prints, it's not all that much for what I'm charging. I've got it marked up enough. So why don't I do the range thing with that and just call them, okay, we've got sofa size, couch size, desktop size, whatever, and only offer like 4 categories. It's no different than it's basically taking what I do with my gift prints into my wall portraits, because really they're paying for the art and they're not necessarily paying for, I want them to get what looks good on their wall. If a 36-inch print looks best in their home, I want them to get that, and if it costs the same as a 30-inch, maybe they will. And I don't know, I haven't worked out all the logistics, but like if I have it priced right, like I'm okay with that. And it's no different. People say, well, doesn't everybody just get 8x10s? No. If they want a 5x7, they get a 5x7. Like I think if a 30-inch print is what looks best in their home, I think people will be okay and still do a 30-inch print. So that's kind of, I'm trying to simplify even more. Part of my reasoning for doing that is also because the onslaught of new products that we can get. We can offer metals and acrylics and gallery wraps, and we do our collages, and then we have our signature, which is pebble on masonite, and then we have our museum, which is canvas on masonite. And so that starts to kill my sale when I have too many options. So I actually decided to simplify it even more. I'm going to take 3 categories, like urban, chic, I'm just making this up right now, but like, urban, chic, and standard, I don't know. Like, and multiple finishes will be in that category. So if you want urban, that might be acrylics, metals, and gallery wraps. Now, I, again, logistically need to go through and figure out what my cost really is on all of those so that I don't get into a situation where I'm losing money, but I actually think it's going to simplify the sale and just be really clean and have a really nice, clean pricing menu, which it's really cool. White House has these folios. They're 8x10 folios that are they're really nice. They just fold and print up. They're kind of like menus, but that I'm going to be transitioning into just having one of those with this new price list at the studio. So I'll have some of those menus printed up, sitting there that people can just look at while they're there. And then I will probably do obviously some printed copies that my clients can take home. You had a question, and I'm sorry I kept going.
No, it's okay. Yes. I like the new thoughts on what you're going to do. That's exciting. On the framing, though, what I run into is that, oh no, I'm just going to take it to the local, XYZ store and have them do the framing. And for a while, I was thinking I'm just going to have framing be part of it. It's just not going to leave without it. But in my market, that's pretty high. And so, but what happens is then I'll see that person, or it'll be a family member, and I'll say, well, where's the image?
It's not framed.
Well, I haven't framed it yet. And this will be 8, 9 months later. And so I feel like that's a disservice to them because then, it's sitting in a big box under their bed or whatever they decided to do with it. How do you handle those?
No, and I've gone through some of those same thought processes. Here I'm making a new price list, and every year I make a new price list. Every year I have made a new price list. I go through the thought process of, should I just include framing just to simplify it? But I always run into that same thing where that makes the cost so initially high that there's a bird in the studio, that it makes the cost initially so high that it almost goes against what I purposely try to do, which is I purposely try to separate them in my sale. Like if I'm spending an hour and a half with somebody selling prints, I put the seed in about the frame, like we offer framing, this would look great in this frame, if you want, take this frame corner home, or when it comes in, we can talk about frames, because money spent, money forgotten. I actually think I can get higher averages to separate it out, spend this much on your prints, and then when someone comes in, they're not going to feel as like buyer's remorse spending money on an F or a G frame. So that's what I always run into when I think about including it, because if I include it, I'd have to include a middle of the range frame, and I then would be afraid that people would just, oh, well, it comes with it, and not be buying the nicer, more expensive frames. So I think that showing them, if you're willing to invest in your most popular sizes on just 1 or 2 moldings and have that to literally present to them in a frame, I don't know, are you doing that?
No, I have the corners.
And corners are a lot harder. It's a lot harder to order off of corners. Like just me personally, like